It was a regular Tuesday evening at a bustling diner in the heart of the city. The kind of place where the scent of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling burgers mixed with a hum of casual conversations. Among the crowd of hurried customers and tired workers was Mia, a young waitress with an infectious smile and a heart full of dreams. She worked tirelessly, weaving between tables with her son, Jamie, often in the back corner doing his homework. Life hadn't been easy for Mia, but she carried herself with a quiet resilience that made her stand out. One night, amidst the usual rush, a man walked in who seemed different from the usual customers. He wasn't flashy, but there was something about his presence that turned heads. His name was Mr. Bennett, a self-made millionaire who was known for his unconventional ways and a reputation for surprising the people he encountered. The room was silent, every pair of eyes fixed on Mr. Bennett as he stood with his glass raised. Mia felt a strange mix of excitement and anxiety, her hands gripping Jamie's shoulder protectively. She didn't know what was coming, but something about Mr. Bennett's tone told her this moment was more significant than she could have imagined. "As some of you know," he began, his voice steady but laced with emotion, "I didn't come from wealth. I worked as a mechanic in a small garage when I was young. Back then, there were nights I didn't know where my next meal would come from. But one day, someone believed in me, someone who saw potential when I couldn't see it myself." He paused, scanning the crowd before his gaze settled on Mia and Jamie. "Tonight, I want to return that favor." Maya's heart raced as she realized he was talking about her. Her mind spun, trying to make sense of his words. What kind of favor? Why her? She felt Jamie tug at her hand, his young face filled with innocent curiosity. Mr. Bennett continued, his voice softening. "Mia, when I walked into that diner, I saw more than just a waitress. I saw a mother who would give the world for her son. I saw someone who refused to let life's struggles steal her hope. And Jamie," he said, smiling at the boy, "I saw a bright young man who deserves every opportunity to chase his dreams." Mia felt her throat tighten, tears threatening to spill. She glanced around the room, acutely aware of the murmurs and surprised expressions of the guests. This was a world she never thought she'd step into, let alone become the center of attention in. "I want to help," Mr. Bennett said simply. "It's my way of honoring the people who once helped me." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope, holding it up for everyone to see. "In here is a scholarship for Jamie. It'll cover his education all the way through college, no matter what he decides to pursue. But that's not all." He turned back to Mia. "For you, Mia, I want to offer something different. A chance to chase your own dreams." The room erupted in applause, but Mia stood frozen, the words echoing in her mind. A chance to chase her dreams? It sounded too good to be true. Life had taught her that opportunities like this didn't come without strings attached. She looked at Mr. Bennett, searching his face for any hint of ulterior motives, but all she saw was kindness. As the applause died down, Mr. Bennett added, "I know this may feel overwhelming. Take your time to think about it. But please know, this isn't charity. It's an investment in two people I believe in." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Mia tried to focus on the conversations around her, but her mind kept drifting back to Mr. Bennett's words. Jamie, meanwhile, was having the time of his life, exploring the mansion and talking to other kids who had arrived with their families. For him, the night was a magical adventure. For Mia, it was a whirlwind of emotions, gratitude, disbelief, and a lingering sense of unease. As they drove home that night, Jamie chattered excitedly about the party, oblivious to the weight of the decision Mia now faced. She smiled at his enthusiasm, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Could she really accept Mr. Bennett's offer? What would it mean for her and Jamie? And why had he chosen them out of all the people he could have helped? The days that followed were a roller coaster of emotions. Mia sought advice from friends and colleagues, but most were just as skeptical as she was. "It sounds too good to be true," one of her coworkers said. "Be careful, Mia. People like him don't just give things away without expecting something in return." Despite their warnings, Mia couldn't ignore the sincerity she'd felt in Mr. Bennett's words. She decided to dig deeper, researching him online and even speaking to people who knew him. To her surprise, his reputation matched what she'd seen. A man who used his wealth to uplift others, often in unexpected ways. Still, doubts lingered. What if accepting his help put her in a position she couldn't escape from? Meanwhile, Jamie's excitement only grew. He began talking about his future in a way Mia had never heard before. "Mom," he said one night, his eyes shining, "do you think I could be a scientist? I want to invent something that helps people, like Mr. Bennett is helping us." Hearing Jamie's words, Mia felt a pang of guilt. She wanted nothing more than to give him every opportunity to succeed, but the fear of the unknown held her back. What if this was a mistake? What if she trusted Mr. Bennet, only to find herself in over her head? Then one evening, there was a knock at the door. Mia opened it to find Mr. Bennet standing there, a warm smile on his face. "I hope I'm not intruding," he said. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're feeling about everything." Mia invited him in, her nerves on edge. They sat at the small kitchen table, the contrast between his polished demeanor and her modest home glaringly obvious. But Mr. Bennet didn't seem uncomfortable. He listened patiently as Mia voiced her concerns, her fears spilling out in a rush of words. "I get it," he said when she finished. "It's not easy to trust someone, especially when life has taught you to expect the worst. But Mia, I'm not asking you to do this alone. I want to help because I see something special in you and Jamie. And if you decide it's not right for you, that's okay too. The choice is yours." Mia looked at him, her defenses slowly crumbling. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what life could be like if she said yes. A future where Jamie's dreams weren't limited by their circumstances. A chance for her to pursue her own ambitions, whatever they might be. As Mr. Bennet left that evening, Mia stood at the door, watching his car disappear into the distance. She knew a decision had to be made, but the weight of it felt heavier than ever. Could she take this leap of faith? Or would her fear of the unknown hold her back from a life she and Jamie had only ever dreamed of? The answer would come soon enough, but for now the question hung in the air, leaving Mia on the edge of a choice that could change everything. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for Mia. Each moment spent with Jamie reminded her of why this decision was so important. His laughter, his curiosity, and the way his eyes lit up when he talked about the possibilities ahead made her realize how much this opportunity could change their lives. Still, doubt lingered in the back of her mind, holding her back from taking the leap. One evening, Mia sat alone at the kitchen table, the scholarship letter Mr. Bennet had left resting in front of her. Jamie had fallen asleep after another day of excitedly telling her about his big plans, as he called them. She traced her fingers over the paper, feeling the weight of what it represented. It wasn't just about money or education. It was about breaking free from the cycle of struggle and giving her son a chance to dream without limits. The following morning, as Jamie got ready for school, he asked a simple question that pushed her to a decision. "Mom, do you think I can really do big things one day?" Like Mr. Bennet said. His voice was so full of hope that it brought tears to her eyes. She crouched down, cupping his face in her hands. "Jamie," she said softly, "you can do anything you set your heart to, and I'm going to make sure of it." That afternoon, Mia called Mr. Bennet. Her voice was steady, but carried a sense of determination she hadn't felt in years. "I've made up my mind," she said. "We'd like to accept your help." On the other end of the line, she could hear Mr. Bennett's smile through his tone. "You've made the right choice, Mia. This is just the beginning." The changes in their lives happened quickly. Jamie's scholarship was finalized, and he was enrolled in a school that nurtured his budding curiosity and talents. Mia, encouraged by Mr. Bennett, began pursuing an old dream of hers, starting her own small business. With his mentorship and support, she opened a cozy cafe near the diner where she had spent years serving others. The cafe quickly became a hub for the community, known not just for its coffee, but for the warmth and positivity Mia brought to every interaction. The biggest surprise came during the cafe's grand opening. As Mia greeted customers and thanked friends for their support, she noticed a familiar face entering the room. It was Mr. Bennett, holding a bouquet of flowers. He handed them to her with a grin. "I told you this was just the beginning," he said, his voice full of pride. As the months turned into years, Mia and Jamie thrived in ways they'd never imagined. Jamie excelled in school, driven by the opportunities now within his reach. Mia's cafe became a beloved staple in the neighborhood, and she even began mentoring young women who were facing the same challenges she once had. One evening, as they sat together at the cafe after closing, Jamie looked up at his mom. "Do you ever think about how different things would have been if Mr. Bennett hadn't come to the diner that night?" he asked. Mia smiled, her heart full of gratitude. "I think about it all the time," she replied. "And it reminds me that sometimes life surprises you when you least expect it." But the real magic happens when you're brave enough to say yes to those surprises. Their journey wasn't without its challenges, but it was a testament to the power of kindness, resilience, and taking a chance when opportunity knocks. Mr. Bennett's gesture had set the wheels of change in motion, but it was Mia and Jamie's courage and determination that carried them forward. And in the end, they proved that even in the most unexpected moments, life can turn into something truly extraordinary.